Moan. Okay, for Tune of the Week, I had a really nice concert this past weekend honoring Vivian Williams, and I played a tune from someone she recorded, a really interesting fiddler who's a Mohawk fiddler from upper New York State. Really great Native American fiddler. His name is Phil Cook, and he has a tune, he just called it a breakdown, but it is a really cool, interesting tune, so I thought I'd share it here. This is a breakdown in A from Phil Cook. There you go. What a fun tune. There was a breakdown. It doesn't have a name. It was just called a breakdown. It's an A from the Mohawk fiddler Phil Cook. He's Akwesasne Mohawk from upper New York State. The Akwesasne Mohawk have an area that extends over the border into Quebec and Canada. So he actually is from Washington as well. He was raised there and grew up there, but then he moved to Richland, Washington. I think he was like a nuclear scientist. He moved to Richland, Washington in the 1970s, and he met up at some point with Phil and Vivian Williams, who did a bunch of field recordings of him for Voyager Records. I don't think that he had an album out with them. I'm pretty sure he didn't. I'm not entirely sure about that. But all I have are the digital field recordings that somebody passed me along the way, and they're really great. He's an amazing fiddler. And I just played him the other night at the Vivian Williams tribute, and people liked his tunes a lot. So I thought I'd share them here for Tune of the Week, but there's a bit of a darker history than I understood. So before I say that, let me say as a land acknowledgement that all the fiddling I'm doing here is on the unceded ancestral land of the Duwamish and Coast Salish people, also real close to the Makah people who are at the west coast of Washington. And I say that because it's important to recognize where the fiddling and the music comes from and what land we're on when we talk about that. So he had an interesting quote that I've never heard before that I thought maybe I would just read what he had to say here so we can hear it in his voice. He said, "I come from the St. Regis Mohawk Indian Reservation, and when the Jesuit missionaries came among our people in 1565, they discouraged anything that the Indians did that was Indian, so to speak. The missionaries tried to replace everything that they took away from them. They discouraged them from dancing Indian dances because the Indian dances had to do with their Indian religion and their government. So they hired Scotch, French, English, and Irish musicians to come among our people and play music and teach them to dance square dances. And I think that's why that I'm playing the violin today. I learned from my dad. It was a family of fiddlers. His father played the violin also. I don't know how ancient some of these tunes are, but that's where they got them." So it's a dark history. I hadn't realized that the missionaries had done that. They had sent out Anglophone and Francophone fiddlers to try and supplant Native American religions and Native American music. It makes sense. That's exactly what Henry Ford did in the 1920s when he sponsored all those fiddle contests, and he really helped push a huge boom in old-time music. He did that because he was scared of the prevalence of black jazz, and that was the purpose, was to use traditional music that was seen as white and use it to override the music of people of color. It's a sad pattern in our nation and in Canada's history as well. Well, let's hear Phil Cook play the fiddle then. These are tunes that Phil Cook loved and that everyone who knew him loved as well. So let's hear what he sounds like on these tunes. This is Breakdown in A. Turn it up a little bit.
We call it a breakdown.
He was a great fiddler. There's more tunes from him. That one, weirdly, somebody at the time, I don't know, whoever made the MP3s put in Newfoundland tune with this. I don't think it's a Newfoundland tune. It may be a Newfoundland tune. Like Phil was saying, it's hard to say where the tunes exactly came from. So perhaps there's Newfoundland roots. I don't really know where this tune came from other than it came from Phil Cook, wonderful Mohawk fiddler who spent a lot of time in Washington State. Try this breakdown in A from Phil Cook a little bit more slowly, okay? Now I'll show you some of the variations and ornaments too. Arpeggio starts it off. Repeat. C part. Here's the B part. It's really kind of cool modal sounding, or lots of accidentals in the B part. So the variations are, there's not a lot in the A part, it's just such a good tune, you don't need many ornaments really. On the B part you can do long on the first note of these kind of accidental arpeggios. repeat that note twice and have it be a bit more rhythm. Either way, I kind of like the long one right now, but I like the other one before, so you never know. Breakdown in A from Phil Cook. What a fun tune.